welcome to another edition of Fresh Perspective, where we give you a fresh look on this week's hot topics. And as you see, we're back in the studio, guys. So, got a real nice show for you. A lot of things happened this week, but we really got something that we seriously got to focus on. But before I get started, I always go to my right. I'm gonna start with the professional. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, man. It's new time slot, new setting, man. Let's get it. It's good to be in the same building, although I gotta stay 6 feet away from y'all. So cough over there.
Gotcha. And we also got Mr. Young and Talented, Mr. Courtney Chappelle. Talk to me. How you feeling?
I'm good, Jeff. Everything is everything. Let's get it.
As you see, we are properly social distance and ready to get to it. Washington, Washington. When we first decided to do this segment, originally we was just going to talk about the name change. We was going to talk about possibilities of where the name was going to go. We were going to talk about, maybe how Madden has taken the Redskin name and logo off of the game, but so much more to unpack.
I missed that Madden thing.
Yeah. Madden is actually taking the Redskin name out of the game, so it's done. But before we go into that Madden piece, I need a professional outlook on this. D. Stanfield, what do you think about what's going on with this Washington Redskins thing? And I'm gonna phrase the question this way: not only what do you think is going on with it, but do you think this is a Donald Sterling-esque mess up on Daniel Snyder? Talk to me.
I'm surprised you started with me on this one.
I didn't want
With
to get
with
canceled.
with a subject matter that's so volatile and so catastrophically, if the word is correct, if the word is accurate, hypocritical.
Okay.
But I'm gonna let Court go there
No,
with
no.
that one. No. It's cool. First of all, as a person who has Native American family members, I gotta say the name change kind of came out of nowhere with me because for years and years we heard Dan Snyder say, "I'm not changing my name. I'm not changing the team's name." For years and years and years, we heard that, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in the midst of social justice and COVID and all this other stuff, out of nowhere, we get a name. We get a breaking news that the Redskins are now pulling all of the Redskins stuff off of the shelf and going into protocol to change the name. And they probably would have released it. And thank you for giving this tidbit of information to me, Irv. They probably would have released the name already if it wasn't for trademark King. So,
I have
but
my own feelings about that, but we'll
yeah. I
get to that
mean,
later.
business is business, right? Business is business. I mean, you had people stealing LeBron James name as it pertains to building websites and stuff. So it's not uncommon. But with that being said, I'm not really. It doesn't really mean anything to me
Interesting.
in terms of the name change. For those people in the Native American community that are offended by that, which I understand, which by talking to people within that community, not everybody is offended. Some people don't even care, but some people feel like there's a lot. There's plenty of other things that we could be focusing on than the name of a sports team. But I get it. For those that are offended, man, I appreciate to an extent what
But
what has
in
gone on.
but allow me to push back a little bit. Allow me to go a little bit deeper. In the spirit of walking gum and chewing, in the spirit of walking and chewing gum at the same time, excuse me, doesn't this actually speak to the wave of what's going on? It's almost a wave of energy that's kind of cleaning up stuff. And I know you went to the name, but I'm not going to let you slide. You had 15 women, okay? Well, not even just 15 women,
I
over
think
15 years.
I think it's 17 now.
Yeah, over 15 years of debauchery.
Mm.
Mm.
Just, sexual innuendos, negative talk, just a really, really toxic workplace. We've seen this happen in sports before
Mm-hmm.
where Donald Sterling
Mm-hmm.
had to sell the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go hard.
Donald Sterling was pimping out his
Is
cheerleaders.
this situation that happened, alleged situation, because we don't know it to be true or not.
Okay.
If this alleged situation is true in Washington, Does Daniel Snyder get pushed to sell the team?
First of all, the news story came out this morning that he's likely going to keep the team.
Can't make him sell his team.
You can't. Well, they can. So
The owners would all have to vote.
they would have to vote him out, and that's not going to happen.
They're not.
They're not.
Besides, technically speaking, in the accusations,
You got speaking to the mic.
on the accusations, they're not directly blaming. They're not saying Daniel Snyder directly did anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the guys that were
You can't make him sell his team if he don't. Like, there's nothing I directly. You can make him clean it. Mark Cuban didn't have to sell his team. It was a lot going on in Dallas. There's a precedent on how he can fix it.
Okay. Now, he came out and he made a statement about everything. Do you feel like that statement spoke to everything enough, or do you feel like it was just fluff? Probably the players got it.
He had to do business.
Let's be clear, man.
He made a business statement, and there's a way to clean it up. This is really easy. If
Daniel Snyder bought the team in '99, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he bought the team in '99. The reports, the flurry of reports that have come out of there, we don't even know what's true and what's not. Okay, but the flurry of reports that have come out of there have been a public debauchery to begin with. Number one, let's talk about the fact that not the fact, but the allegations of them paying off referees. How? In what season have they won enough games to be relevant? How are you paying? How are you paying off referees to make sure that you
penalize me for doing that?
Are you paying off referees to make sure that we lose so I can win in Vegas? Is that what we're doing?
Unless that's the
play. Because otherwise, if we're talking about paying off refs to make sure that you got a successful team, then you lose. You lost. Second of all, we're talking about a private conversation. We're talking about a situation with Donald Sterling where a private conversation caused the NBA owners to force his hand to sell his team, which in that particular situation, number one, a man that has Alzheimer's should not have a team to begin with. That's first and foremost. Second of all, if you do allow him to have the team, he should be able to hand off that team to whoever he should so choose. He bought that team, right? But on top of that, we're talking about a private conversation, and we crucified this man for a private conversation. But on the flip side, we got Rachel Nichols with a private conversation that we can't even get no information on. ESPN's allowed to paint the narrative around that instead of giving it to the public like they would any other man. But we in the Me Too movement, so we're gonna protect the women as we should.
I think
but like I said, as we should. But it should be. It
should be both. But Rachel's was leaked. I mean, Donald Sterling's was
leaked.
So that's that.
Well, Rachel's was leaked. It was just leaked by. It was an illegal recording.
Yeah, but it was leaked to where the higher ups could get a hold of.
Right.
Donald Sterling was leaked.
No.
From source to TMZ.
So let's be clear. The Rachel Nichols stuff was leaked to the audio was sent to TMZ. TMZ is not allowed to let. ESPN has made it clear if that gets out, there will be consequences and repercussions. But it wasn't the case with Donald Sterling. It wasn't the case with Danny Ferry. But we're talking about the Redskins right now, so I'm gonna stay on the Redskins.
Harvey did Harvey get the same permission when he did the Donald Sterling thing? This is what I'm.
That's a good question.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The person who handed it off, I got communication with that person that handed it off, did this and that. It wasn't about having a conversation with NBA. But when you get it, like how he said in prior history, hey, listen, when I got the story with I think Nas. Like I reached out to Nas, like, hey, I got a story.
Facts.
This is what I'm getting ready to do. Now, if he reaches out,
every good journalist does, right? They give that person an opportunity to rebut.
If whoever got the recording sent it over and he got it, and he goes, I know some people over there. I got relationships and ties, and they go, yo, listen, I got it, and they go, no, without bar, and he choose not to. Now, with you, he's released everything else. You released Kobe stuff. You released it all. So why not this one? Hey.
First of all, why not this one? Number one, let's be clear. It's Rachel Nichols. Rachel Nichols has damn near an impeccable reputation.
I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not that I don't know the story, right? But with everything going on in the world, I'm gonna be super real because I know over the last couple of weeks, you hear me like I'm being real with everything that's going on. I really care less about certain stories. Rachel Nichols' conversation in the privacy of her room, whoever she did, however she feels. She's a human. Do y'all think I think Rachel Nichols is the same human and she smiles all day? She likes everything.
Absolutely not.
She has no thoughts. She doesn't dislike anybody.
I guess I don't.
No,
I don't.
like,
I don't. I guess I don't.
I don't care.
My only
Mm-mm.
problem with the Rachel Nichols situation, and I love and respect Rachel Nichols.
Mhm.
My problem with the situation is not Rachel Nichols. It's the fact
How they
that
handle it. How they
it's the
choose to handle it.
like ESPN's shutting it down. The media coverage is minimized heavily. They're controlling the narrative around this
Per
in
usual.
totality. And like we said in the beginning, women should be protected. But if we are all about free speech, putting the truth out there, and ESPN is avid saying, "Oh, this doesn't paint her in a negative light. Nothing on this is incriminating," and blah blah blah. Then release it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal.
Can't release it because I'm sitting in privacy of her room.
Okay.
Can't release that.
That
Can't release that.
so Donald Sterling wasn't talking to the chick in
In
the privacy of his own room.
in his home,
He was.
and he got
And
burnt.
he probably had something in his hands that resembled a microphone as he was telling her not to go over there with that Black Magic Johnson. But you know,
phone.
But you know,
But again,
now listen,
again.
I don't want the narrative to be painted that
I don't know.
anybody in
Listen,
this room supports Donald Sterling, because
No.
that's not the case at all. I think really what I wanted to touch on is just I wanted to talk about toxic culture and the toxic culture that was being ran in Washington, and it almost seems like I'm gonna bring
the
it
toxic
Ron
culture.
Rivera.
No, don't say Washington. Be real. The toxic culture that's being ran through organizations and sports. Period. Y'all keep
Facts.
trying to duck it out.
Well, I can't say period, because I believe Ron Rivera was brought in to be the adult in the room and actually to bring some type
How?
of
Everybody, how? Who told you he gonna be the adult? You haven't seen him do anything. You could bring anybody in there to be the adult in the room until it's time to be the adult in the room. We don't know yet. Who told you Ron Rivera was gonna be different?
I think that's why Ron was brought
Didn't
in.
Ron Rivera just come from an organization where a man just sold his team because of his indiscretions?
Yeah.
Was he the adult in the room there?
I think Ron Rivera.
I think-
Ron Rivera was brought in because of his ties to a certain community, and I'll leave it.
I have a question. No.
That's
We
like
just said this
that's
last
like
week.
saying he
No.
said it first, so I can say the word. If Ron Rivera's ties to the Native American, Latino, and Black community are at peace enough for him to be the coach of that team, then Dan Snyder is probably like, hey, they're fine with it. Why do I need to change the name? My own coach.
Well,
That's-
because the sponsors started to pull their money.
Oh, here we go with this money again. Here we
And
go
so
with the
now
money again.
He's at a place where he's ready to change.
I
the name.
wish-
And then that brings up what we were talking earlier about the guy who likes to.
So
trade
I got
names.
hold on, time out. I got a quick question on that.
Talk to me.
I want to ask you. This is just me asking you. So sponsors pulled out and want him to change the name now, right? He's on the team since 1999. They've been called the Redskins since inception, correct?
Yeah.
It's okay. So
And for the record, I have not called them that name since the 90s. I've always referred to them as the Washington franchise.
fair.
Since the 90s.
Super dope. Super dope. Super dope. I'm
Such
30.
a high level of integrity.
Dope. Super dope. Hold on. I'm 31 years old. So in my 31 years, I've basically been a racist. I've called them disrespectfully out of their name, but I've celebrated this. You have brought jerseys this. There has been school things this. There are high school football team. Is the high school football team changing the name too?
I'm not familiar with the high school football.
Oh, there are some Redskin names running around the world. Like, is everybody switching the name? So basically, we've been lied to. So basically, our whole history now, we just need to just start changing it all. Correct? All right, cool. I just want to make sure as we move forward in the conversation, just know
I'm okay with
the Native American in this current moment and right now in 2020 with everything going on, right? The Native American community has gotten the Redskin name changed. They have gotten adjusted that they wanted all these years.
I mean,
Okay.
it could be the Blackhawks next.
Last week I had a conversation. We had a conversation on the same podcast about another community. I was offended and things were fixed right now. Now let's get all the way back to the original thing that was being fought for. And see, can we get that fixed since we've clearly fixed everything else in the last 3-4 months?
Well, we haven't, and it's definitely a process. I think nobody is
Name
saying
gonna be
that
changed, bro.
all of these things are the end game. These are pieces to a puzzle,
Daniel Snyder, there's a
to a
precedent.
possible end game.
If anybody listens, if anybody is listening in a wrestling organization and you love Daniel Snyder, there's a precedent that is set for you, and you can follow the blueprint and you can walk right away from this. Yes, you're gonna have to change the name, but go to Mark Cuban, have a conversation, take the steps he took, and walk it out. Because we don't talk to Mark Cuban anymore. Shark Tank still exists. All of these shows still exist, and that man's culture. No disrespect to Mark. This ain't picking on Mark. I'm just pointing out the obvious of the situation. His situation just came out not too long ago the same way. We still talk Luka. We still talk Porzingis. We still talk them in the future. He still owns that team. He still has his networks. He still has his shows, his endorsements, and his sponsors.
Well,
The precedent was set, Dan. Follow suit.
Well, what Mark Cuban said was, accept your mistakes, Dan. He spoke to Dan directly.
Yeah, you know what that meant.
So the whole
what I said. I love Mark, man.
The whole process of Dan evading any type of blame or just being totally scot-free.
I mean, this is the same owner that said that came out and kept it a buck and said, "Yo, if I'm walking down the street and I see somebody in a hoodie, white or black, I'm crossing the street."
Mark Cuban,
he kept it a buck.
I have no issue with Mark Cuban.
Well,
white or black, I'm crossing the street.
Mutual accountability.
Thank you. Bring it home.
Wait. Before we bring it home, let's get back to these 15, 17 young women.
And I'm not saying that they're lying or anything.
Right. This is not.
I've never had any of that.
This is nothing. I don't even want to talk about the accusation.
Yeah, I'm not
itself,
even. I haven't even touched the accusations because I don't know what's true.
Listen, we take all of that. We take all of this seriously.
Absolutely.
There's never a time where we belittle the circumstances that might surround an issue like this. We with the exception of one person who's not here today, we aren't even telling you what to do with your lives.
Absolutely, I'm not. Who am I?
It just and I think that my man Court echoes this. It's ironic. The timing of everything is very, very suspect.
That I will go with. Timing of
everything is very, very suspect. And the reason why I say this is the same. When we had it, we did our pregame, and we talked about this. And my whole thing is this: the dynamics that surround Dan Snyder's business practice have been suspect for quite some time. All the way back to paying players properly.
That want to sell 40% of the team. They want out.
Now, I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Now.
How long have they been minority owners and how much money have they made?
How often do you see minority stake owners want to get out of any professional sports, let alone a professional sports team located in DC?
All I'll say is what we said last week. Mutual accountability.
Yes. Mutual accountability. That is the thing. But let's bring it home real
complicity. Quick, there's some complicity that has gone on for years in these things, and other people do need to be accountable.
Hey, Jay Gruden.
When we talk about the adults in the room,
Jay Gruden was the coach 2 years ago, right? Not last year. 2 years ago, right?
And no, it was the coach some of last year. The story that they said
I believe
allegedly that Jay Gruden did, which caused Alex Smith's injury.
That's whack. That's weak.
Okay. That's
should have been addressed from the gate, though. That's not something.
That's not. That is something that as soon, especially in the climate that we were in last year, in the climate they were killing everybody that had anything to do.
Alex situation,
bruh.
That's something y'all put on the table. People talk about everything. They do a lot of Twitter games. There's a lot of verbiage out there. There's a lot of leakage. Mutual accountability, complicity, man.
You're in another country. You are exploited by the head coach
and I'm
to
only talking
sell
about
your body at the cost of your passport, which you can go to the embassy and get back anyway.
Somebody need to go to jail if that's true.
But if that's the case, my question to you is: in a Me Too movement, as much money as you could have pulled from that situation, why is it that didn't come out the minute you touched ground on U.S. soil?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But somebody, if
The
that accusation is
second,
true, somebody needs to go to jail.
yeah, facts. It's just the timing, man. The timing, and I'm not idiotic enough to think that things like this are not going on today. Like Court was saying earlier, I'm not idiot enough. I'm not naive enough to think that things like this happen in sport. Things like this happen in corporate America. Period.
There's just a older way, and I'm not saying who was wrong, who was right, and I'm making an excuse. This is not about anybody in particular. This is not about a grouping. All I'm saying is there was a generation where things kind of were ignored. That's what I'm saying. Things were ignored, things were allowed. There was a lot of complicity, and it's being cleaned up now, and that's where we're at. And that's where we're at in the world.
And
Got you.
until it's put on blast with a high level of integrity and mutual accountability, it's never going to change. It's never going to change. And there will always be a stigma as long as capitalism is in place. There will always be a stigma around the fact that billionaires can do and say what the hell they want to do and have very, very few and far between repercussions. Period.
And point taken, point taken. You guys have been looking at Fresh Perspective. We give you a fresh take on this week's hot topics. Coming to the end of this segment right here. So, just like everybody to give their final perspective really quickly before we end the session. I'm going to start out with
Me?
young and talented.
Yes, go.
What's your final perspective?
Final perspective. Adults, the elders. I'm young. I haven't lived long enough and haven't experienced enough. To all the adults and the elders, you raised a generation in a group of people. You raised a generation in a group of people and taught us how to learn, how to research, how to pay attention, how to look what's in front of us. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. And I'm just saying, as we look at you guys from afar on national television right now, we start to open up the walls. Y'all been lying for years, bro. Like the whole system, like in every levels of every culture of every group. Please, y'all can't talk to us. Y'all got to get it together, man.
All right, man. And then the professional final perspective.
There comes a time in everybody's life where you have to stand for something. Just be sure that you are standing or kneeling, whatever you're standing or kneeling for, it's for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
Because it can and will come back to bite you. For the last 3 weeks, we have discussed several instances of people bringing forth issues that ultimately turn out to be selfish and or hypocrisy. And so align yourself properly, be the same person that you are in the dark as well as the light, and we won't have to deal with a lot of the backlash that we've been dealing with over the last couple weeks and centuries, if you will.
I got you. Last but not least, we lost a cultural icon this week. Rest in peace to Senator John Lewis. Just real quick, I did have an opportunity to meet him this year when he was at the airport. Very, very kind man, very welcoming man, and may he rest in peace. But he will definitely, his legacy definitely live on forever. And I appreciate what he